Portland Trailblazers coach Chauncey Billups and Miami Heat guard Terry Rozier arrested today as part of separate investigations related to illegal gambling and sports betting. Federal investigators just held a news conference laying out at least the information that they could about the arrests that happened this morning and the investigation. I want to bring in our Scripps News national correspondent Alex Miller, who's going to be helping us break all of this down. So, Alex, what exactly did we learn from federal officials this morning?
Well, Steph, we learned that there are 2 individual cases, but there is overlap between them. At least 3 individuals are considered part of both of these investigations, and they both involve the NBA, but for different reasons. Let's first start with the major NBA case here. This involves gambling and rigging of the game. There's allegations here that former Charlotte Hornets player Terry Rozier, who now plays for the Miami Heat, took himself out of a game in March of, I believe, 2023. And he had told a group of people that were close to him that he was going to take himself out of the game. What that means is that people were able to bet on how many points he was going to score. They say they took the under on him. And what that meant in practicality was Rozier left the game 9 minutes in, and those people won over $200,000 because of that decision. And according to these investigators, they say that that money was then delivered, at least tens of thousands of it, to his home, and they counted the cash. Now, this is just one piece of this scheme, but that should give you a little bit of an idea into what they really are looking at. This investigation happened between December 2022 and March of 2024, and it involves a host of former NBA players, including Damon Jones. He is one of the people that there is some overlap on it. They not only did Rozier, pull himself out of that game, that there was indications that people would sit out future games and pull themselves out for injury or illness, like we saw Rozier did. At least one person, a player, Porter, was threatened because they say that he had pre-existing gambling debts, and so he was threatened by others in order to comply with what they were looking for. So this is the big issue here. They say that they laundered peer-to-peer through bank wires and through cash exchanges. It involved not just the Charlotte Hornets, but also the Portland Trailblazers, the LA Lakers, and also the Toronto Rangers, they said. Conspiracy to commit wire fraud and money laundering are the charges against the people involved in that scheme. Then there was a separate scheme. This involves crime families right here in New York. There was a little bit of a discrepancy about how many of them. There are 5 crime families in New York, and it involves at least 3 or 4 of these families. They're part of what's called La Casa Nostra, and these families are the Gambinos and other ones that are, heavily involved Italian crime families that have been involved for decades. Essentially what they say is this scheme took place in the Hamptons, in Las Vegas, in Miami, and in Manhattan, and they ran a poker scheme where they would bring in former players like current coach in Portland, Chauncey Billups, to play with people. So people would get excited thinking that they were playing poker alongside these NBA players, and, obviously, difficult to get into those kinds of games. And what would happen is that everybody else, aside from these individual people, would be involved in the scheme. So Chauncey Billups, according to this allegation, knew what was happening, the dealer, and everybody else that was playing, except for the actual individual, we'll call them, the average Joe that was buying into this game. They wanted to be able to play alongside of these people. And so they used high-tech technology. They said they had X-ray tables so that when the cards were face down, they could still see what those cards were. They had special deck shufflers that would relay information out to a third party that would then relay it back to the people on the ground to tell them what kind of cards they would be playing with. So all of these kinds of things were involved to have this scheme, and they say it was tens of millions of dollars that they took from some of these people. One individual person lost over $1 million as part of this scheme. And they say it's not just the cheating and the money laundering that happened here, but that there was actually violence at points to try to get money from some of these individuals who did not want to pay the debts that they owed from these kinds of games. And so Again, these defendants launder, they say, through cash exchanges, shell companies, and even crypto to do this. There was at one point a gunpoint robbery to obtain one of those rigged shuffling machines. And so they are charged with wire fraud conspiracy, as well as illegal gambling, money laundering, and extortion. So there is a lot here. The FBI says this is the tip of the iceberg, that this investigation continues, meaning that there could be other evidence brought in, other people brought in. But so far, they say dozens of individuals were arrested early this morning across some 30 states as part of both of these investigations. Now, they wouldn't talk too much about what the real link was here, but they did say at least 3 people are involved in both of these schemes.
Wow, it's a scheme, especially the illegal poker game that the Department of Justice is alleging. It feels like a Hollywood movie with the type of technology they were explaining. Feels like something that should be in one of the Ocean's movies. Scripps News national correspondent Alex Miller, thank you for breaking this down for us, and I'm sure we'll get more reporting from you later this morning.